You met Mr. Narendra Modi recently. How was that?
He was so kind and he kind of sat with us for like maybe 40 minutes and spoke about so many things. But the one thing you take away from your interaction with him is how likable he is in person. Your relationship with the market is much like your relationship with somebody you're
Dating.
Yeah. In the beginning, it is always very
Yeah,
nice.
that peak that you all have, right? Yeah.
And you never forget that first trade where you did so well.
Yeah. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. The markets have opened और मैं अपनी stock holding check कर रहा हूँ. Although मैं day trader नहीं हूँ, but every now and then I keep coming in and checking where my stocks are or securities and commodities are. Well, अगर आप भी एक trader हो या general investor हो, long term वाले, तो do let me know how you're working around the volatility that the market is going through. Today, we're going to be meeting the co-founder of Zerodha, Mr. Nikhil Kamath, who's a young billionaire, but also a philanthropist. And we're going to understand what his office vibe is. What is the space like for a man who started up after having dropped out from school? So let's go and find out his story. So, welcome to Mashable Morning. Nikhil Kamath, how are you?
Good. How are you?
We've just walked out of a co-working space, Co-works,
Yeah.
and I think it's imperative that we will get to asking you about the vibe of Zerodha and all of the other ventures that you run. But tell me, you started off at a call center.
Yeah, long ago now. When I was 17, I worked at a call center called 24/7.
Yeah.
I used to sell accidental health insurance for a company called Stonebridge.
Really?
Yeah, so it was like calling British people and telling them,
You could be in an accident.
and this
Do you have a
company
cover?
would be- yeah, exactly that.
Are they used to getting Indians on the phone and like selling them stuff?
They are, but when you in that era of call centers, people would train you to sound British.
Oh.
But whoever tried, I think the minute they picked up the call, a Britisher would know we were Indian, and
Yeah.
he would pick up on that right away. So they knew, and to a large extent they were okay. Some people, I think, took issue to it because they were losing jobs. A lot of that was migrating here onshore in India, and you kind of can't blame them for that, right?
I'm sure. Anybody will kind of try gauging the voice of the person who's on the other side. If you're trying to give him a no, you maybe be kind about it.
Yeah.
So then if you know the diaspora, where they come from, then you're kind of.
Yeah.
I think so, right?
Yeah, I think if you had an Indian, the weird thing is if we were speaking to Brit people, they were kind of like, okay, but if you had an Indian on the other side who realized you were calling him offshore from India, he took the most offense to it. And it's a really hard thing to understand why, but it worked like that.
Also, apart from the fact that we walked out of Co-works, the Mashable Mornings is brought to you by Co-works, where we try understanding what is the vibe of a call center. Do you remember the vibe and like
Of course,
the zone?
yeah.
Is it the typical blue light, dimly lit?
No, not at all.
No?
Brightly lit, white light, huge floors with
yeah?
maybe 400, 500 people per floor, big canteens, good food.
Really?
I used to work there.
And not through the night.
So my shift was UK, so I would go into work for 6 months of a year at about 5 p.m. and the other 6 months at 6 p.m.
Oh, nice.
So I would wind up by either 1 a.m., 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. depending on that daylight savings thing. But it was not, people make it sound like a bad thing, but I truly cherished that time of my life and I had so much fun. Like some of the friends I made back then are still my friends today, and we formed our own group and we had so much fun. We had a different cycle because we were sleeping when most were awake, and we had to kind of hang out with each other.
Yeah.
All in all, it was a lot of fun though.
So, देखो ऐसा मैशबल मॉर्निंग पे आए और हम लोग मॉर्निंग रूटीन के बारे में बात नहीं की, ऐसा हो नहीं सकता. तो ऐसा एंटरप्रेन्योर्स का होता है ना, तो आपका क्या है मॉर्निंग रूटीन?
तो मेरा बहुत रेपिटेटिव है. It's quite boring. So I've been doing pretty much the same day job that I do today for 18-19 years.
Of course.
So like to the extent that in the last 18-19 years I might have missed 3 or 4 market days, and that happened because I was in a hospital. But otherwise it's been exactly the same. So I don't go to weddings. I don't.
What are you saying?
Yeah, if I'm traveling, I'm still like, I take 4 computers with me and I have a terminal set up and everything.
Really? Always?
Always. Like even here now in Bombay, I have an entire setup in my hotel room. I have 4 computers there. So it's been a long time of doing the same thing, but I would say the respite is in the fact that it's such a unpredictable job, if one were to say, that each day is different. Nobody can call what will happen tomorrow. I think most often people find a job hard or boring based on how repetitive it is. Like one could argue that the most stressful job in the world is probably being a librarian or being, something like that, where there is no growth. Maybe sitting in a visa office and stamping visas.
Yeah.
These are really hard jobs.
Yeah.
But I think grateful for the fact that, not all the time, but overall grateful for the fact that there is so much volatility in my job.
Yeah.
And there
Especially
are so many
now,
ups and downs.
if we can address that, 2023 is when we are shooting this.
Yeah.
And today it looked positive. Today things look good.
Yeah, so to be fair, again, it's been a fairly modest year, but it hasn't been a terrible year.
Yeah.
I think the markets, as we speak, are up maybe 2% for the
Correct.
year, for the financial year. And that's not bad. After the stellar madness of the last 2 years, I think taking a little bit of a break for the markets is par for the course.
So maybe you're also seeing it on now at a very 30,000 feet level where you're able to see, like you said, the whole year is 2% up. Seeing that as not a day or a month or a week, but a year or 10 years is the outlook that you need as an investor.
I think so. Like लोगों को ऐसा लगता है कि they can figure out what will happen tomorrow or in the next 4 hours or in the next 1 week or 1 month. Not really true. It is next to impossible to predict the future, let alone what will happen 1 month down the line or 2 months down the line.
Yeah.
So I often tell people, don't waste so much time trying to predict what will happen tomorrow, because it's probably impossible. Yeah.
Like I've heard so many sentences, and we'll come to trading later, chalo. But for me, it's like the Hollywood dream, I would say, that when you hear about an entrepreneur and you hear that they are a dropout or whatever, like it's the perfect script. It's a Bollywood tale. So what happened in school that made you drop out and do whatever you've kind of pursued and done?
So I think every tale is fairly exaggerated. Enough number of people speak about you, I think a layer is added, right? Like, I think there's this great Russian author who says all fable has some element of truth in it. So I think whatever you hear, you pick a euphemized version to the degree of 10 or something to find where truth truly lies. But I think I was a bad student. I don't think I'd have
you
gotten...
have to soft blow that.
I don't think I would have gotten far going the traditional route.
Yeah.
जब कुछ बच्चे होते हैं who are rebel without a cause, they want to do the opposite of everything they're told to do.
Yeah.
Like your mom tells you eat green stuff, you don't want to eat it. If somebody tells you do homework, you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I think I was very much that. For some reason, I got a little lucky in life and was in the right place at the right time with the right people many times in life. And I think that kind of worked out for me. But otherwise, ऐसा नहीं था कि I was getting some scholarship to some fancy college in school and I missed out on something like that by not continuing. Yeah.
No, but you'd started up as a teenager with selling old phones also, no?
Yeah, I think that one trait I had very early. I think so many of us, right? Like we don't realize how much we carry from our childhood when our memories of that time are not vivid. Like
correct.
What you think of, what happens around you when you're 5, 6, 7, or even younger than that. So I think that's a factor of my own evolution. I think...
like what have you carried? Like what drove this thought is what I want to try to understand.
I honestly, I will have to deep dive so much into myself to figure out what exactly it was, and maybe I'll fail even then. But I'm assuming I'm carrying that early childhood into my mid-teenagehood, which made me want to be a little precocious about wanting to become financially independent very fast.
I mean, why are we like very honest confession? When I met you, you know, the immediate thought was, and you are a philanthropist, we're going to get to that. Is that why isn't our education system teaching our kids about trading and the option of, you know, just like making money do the work for you also? Like if we allocate X amount of assets or cost to something, it will make the money.
Yeah.
Why aren't kids taught all of that, right?
No, it's a no-brainer. I think we teach kids for 15 years how to get a job, like how to be able to get a
Say
vocation.
yes sir, to everything.
If the point of the job is to earn a wage at some level, I think it is. It's probably equally important to teach them how to manage that money. And
True.
I think this should not happen at age 16 or 17, but it should probably happen in middle school or
है ना?
younger.
That impressionable age के time पे दे दो ये.
Bilkul.
But like the business trait also, for me, I think, because I saw my father as a businessman,
Yeah.
I would do like trading in maps. Like I would
Right.
take maps ready, I would draw them, I'd
Right.
point out the city and the capital.
Yeah.
मुझे पता था 10 लोग नहीं करके आएंगे, मैं बेच देता था, तो 2-5 रुपए में ही बेचता था. But for me, it was the requirement and providing solution kind of an approach. Was that ever happening to you? Like
Yeah.
you saw that there's an opportunity here, you're providing a solution?
Yeah. So I used to live on the road where Jain College was in Bangalore.
Okay.
बहुत सारे Marwadi kids, and you know, they start doing business when they're in their mother's tummy, right?
Yeah.
They learn there and they implement it the minute they're out. And a lot of these guys bought and sold phones. And when I happened to, you know, it's not a big business, obviously, right? I was 15 years old at the time, but it got to the point where I had maybe 20, 30 phones, and that was kind of collected by the profit of selling one to another and one to another.
Oh, so you were trading.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You then took your first salary and put it into like the stock market. Like, is that a thing that you also did?
Yeah, I did. My first salary when I was 17, I actually was meant to be 18, but I was actually 17.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, was 8,000 rupees working for 24/7. Like, you know, bless that company. Like, they treated me so well in the couple of years that I spent there. They promoted me a couple of times.
Oh, you were team leader or something?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. I mean, 8,000 became 15,000. So, I mean, it's not...
How do you take that much money? Like, you made money for the first time and you're putting it into the market. That's a ballsy move, no?
Yeah, but तभी ज़्यादा responsibilities नहीं थे, and it was kind of like an obsession. So trading, investing is also as much an obsession or an addiction as it is a passion
है ना?
for everybody. Any kind of trading, like you could be buying cell phones and selling them. वो भी is a certain kind of addiction.
Correct.
So it began like that, and did trading in the manner that if you have very little money and you want to make something out of it, you have to take a lot of risk. That's how any newcomer thinks about trading. So I would go and buy penny stocks. I remember buying a company called Mars Soft. Abhi to band ho gaya hoga, but back in the day it was at 4 rupees, and then it went to 10 rupees in like 2 months or something. And I was like, the first trade you ever do, right?
That makes you money actually.
Yeah. So your relationship with the market is much like your relationship with somebody you're
dating.
Dating. Okay. Yeah. In the beginning, it is always very nice.
That peak that you all have, right? Yeah.
And the dopamine kick of that, or you never forget that first trade where you did so well.
Yeah.
But it went in a manner that, you know, a little bit of money became a little more, up until the point that it became maybe 2 lakh rupees or 3 lakh rupees. And then there would be one event where it went back to zero. Because you're constantly levered up so much and you're trading at full risk, you're bound to burn out.
Fall, yeah.
So whenever you trade, I think this is a lesson for anybody. Like, if you lever, and if you lever beyond a certain extent, the odds of you losing probably go up tenfold. So the most important lesson in trading or investing is never invest borrowed money, never borrow money to invest, and probably never lever.
Interesting. good kind of learnings, because we've done ads for, let's say, Samco, so we know that, you know,
Nice, plug in a competition.
yeah, I mean, also you know, I advertise for, let's say, EP
Right.
money,
Right.
so I invest my mutual funds in EP money. If I've done Samco, then it's that. But like, I think it's important to name these guys right now. Like, you know, it's important to know that Zerodha has done what it has done, or any other brand, because we didn't have so many investors 3 years ago, yeah.
Correct.
So
Abhi
like-
kam ho rahe hain. Like, can I be honest? Like,
Yeah,
I think,
you can be.
I think during that pandemic time,
Yeah.
a lot of people came into the markets. If you were to compare today to that time, I think the number of people coming into the markets, I'm not just talking about Zerodha or any one company, the amount of retail activity has probably fallen 40% compared to maybe 8 months ago.
Oh wow, that's a big number, bro.
Yeah, people have gone back to office. और ये भी है ना कि जब लोग घर से काम कर रहे हैं तो they can sit and have a
Have
terminal
multiple
open
screens,
and all
yeah,
of that. When you're sitting in the office and your manager is looking at what you're doing, it's a completely different story.
Correct. What is next for, because you've explored so many like asset chains, then now what aspirations exist?
I think the one passion I've had from the very beginning, I feel like everything else was kind of ancillary to that passion. I
Yeah.
think it has been buying something for cheap and selling it for more in whatever domain. Trading, for the lack of a better word, or investing. I think that will remain the primordial part, or the biggest time that I allocate to any one thing will be that, in whatever capacity that it could be. You know, it could be managing Zerodha's money, or managing another company's money, or another company's money, or it could even be managing third-party money. But I think that's where I would spend most of my time, because I seem to enjoy that a little bit. I don't like this whole, you know, managing people and being somebody's boss and all of that. I think I'm terrible at it. I feel, you know, वो लोग बोलते हैं ना, you know, have a vision, drive a team
people
to do.
towards that vision.
Correct. वो सब है ही नहीं. Like, I hate having people report to me, and I have for a long time. I try as hard as possible to have nobody report to me.
What are you saying then?
Yeah.
How are you running this show?
So, you know, certain teams have certain people who tell me research ideas. They research what investments we should make, how much we should negotiate. My business partners, there's this guy called Abhijit, who is a partner with me and Nithin in some of the other ventures we run.
No.
Is the best negotiator I've ever met in my life. And if you have people like that around you, you might as well use their skill set and, you know, not negotiate yourself.
100%.
So I rely on these people. I would call them, like, you know, partners and friends to do a lot of the stuff I know I am not good at.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one very interesting concept. If you read any philosophy, right? Like, you go to like, or even psychology for that matter, take Freud, Adler, Jung, anybody. When you look into yourself truly, if nobody is able to actually introspect, right? But if you are able to a certain extent, we're all flawed, right? We're all flawed in many ways. The problem begins to occur when we start to believe we are not flawed. I think when you actually are able to recognize your flaws and kind of like be cognizant of them, can you contain them when you act today? But the worst day in my life would be the day when I think I'm great and, you know, I know everything. Because that's the day it all goes backwards for me.
Biggest part of reason why I do this is just to hear from you and why you're doing what you're doing and what led you to that decision. Also, I get to have uninterrupted attention of yours for an hour, right? Like, it's just like I get all gyan I will want that you will not shed otherwise. If I was paying you hundreds of dollars for consulting fees also.
Right.
I mean, like, it's not like I'm not going to show you my portfolio after. But why is it do you think?
What's in your portfolio?
Yeah, I will show it to you. But why do people in India shy away from like revealing a lot or just like sharing their portfolio? I don't know.
I mean, it's a portfolio.
Like knowledge sharing, yeah? Like your
knowledge sharing. I think
it's about the stock trades and like any commodities or securities wherever you are at.
I think we're unnecessarily competitive. ऐसे लगता है कि there is a race and the winner takes all. I don't think that's necessarily true. I feel like we live in such a country today, a country with so many different opportunities, that if the people around you succeed, the
Yeah.
likelihood of you succeeding is actually higher.
Higher,
not
yeah,
lower.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like in-person meetings or Zoom or I don't know, Microsoft Teams?
I know, I think I went a bit too far with Microsoft Teams criticism. But I like in-person meetings.
Yeah, no.
But the disadvantage to in-person meetings for me is, like, you live in Bombay, I live in Bangalore.
Mm-mm.
I can maybe do 4 in-person meetings a day, or I can do 10 Zoom meetings a day.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, you cut to the chase in Zoom meetings, no?
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, the pleasantries when you meet are just like going a little beyond.
Yeah.
Which city, if you have to pick Bangalore, Bombay, Delhi, Chennai, Hyderabad, anyone?
Bangalore, definitely.
Bangalore?
Bangalore में ना लोग कम competitive है. I say this like it's a bad thing, but it's actually the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't, they wouldn't rise on the backs of other people as easily
Yeah.
as people in the other cities you mentioned would.
Yeah, true, true.
There's a little bit more niceness left. I don't know why that has happened. Pata nahi, maybe it's the timid upbringing of being a South Indian or something.
That's true,
but
dude.
something has worked for Bangalore in that manner.
Yeah.
And they don't even like these brash displays of wealth. You'll have some seriously rich people like
Yeah.
walking around on the road without any.
chappals.
Yeah.
Best hai, bro.
You never see that in Bombay.
And they'll eat at a tiffin center in the morning.
Correct.
And you're like, wow.
Yeah.
But how did you start Zerodha? Like, tell me about that time when you're deciding on what you're going to start and do.
So Zerodha started maybe 13, 14 years ago now.
Mhm.
So trading, where did I leave the story? Call center trading. Trading started making money. So quit call center after a couple of years. Me and my brother, we started a company called Kamath Associates.
Yes.
Sub-broker. He used to have a franchisee of Reliance Money. I used to have a franchisee of Way to Wealth. We managed money for maybe 2 dozen people. Kind of like, really low scale. I'm talking about very little money.
You like 10 lakh रुपए manage करना है एक का.
एक बंदे का.
एक बंदे का ना. हाँ, समझ गया
Things
मैं.
like that. Things like that. And we did that for a few years. And we realized the brokerage we were paying as sub-brokers to these main brokers was so high that this was not truly sustainable. So जब शुरू हुआ था at the very beginning, I think the idea to a certain extent was to save the margin we were paying the broker.
Yeah.
So we started being a broker like that, and Nithin started focusing on getting the clients, building the business, and I was focusing on paying money to run the business.
Okay.
So I would
So you were always driving the money.
correct.
Ah.
So I would trade and make a certain amount of money, and with that we would pay salaries and rent and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And every business takes a couple of years of gestation, right, before it starts making money and stuff. So
But you all had the awareness of the gestation period.
no, we didn't. We didn't know anything. यार सब कुछ. I think we got very, very lucky to have begun in 2009 almost, right after the 2008 financial
Yeah.
crisis, when not much innovation or money was chasing anything stockbroking
True.
across the world, but more so in India.
Yeah.
The same people, if we were to try doing the same thing today, would fail probably miserably, because we are not all as hungry as we once were. I know I'm not. I speak for myself. I would even go far enough to say that Nithin isn't either. I don't
What
know
are you
about-
saying?
Hey, we've been doing the same thing for so long. We're not hungry or as hungry as the new people on the block today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're a little bit content. We're slower. Maybe not as a company, but I'm talking about us as individuals.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
How long did it take to really take off?
I would say 4-5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, not even really take off, but like begin to be recognized 4-5 years as a company.
But then, like, when does the we have arrived kind of feeling strike?
ऐसा कुछ नहीं है यार, अभी तक नहीं है. We're the most self-critical, deprecating kind of people where
Yeah.
we're constantly second-guessing all that we're doing and thinking if we are doing the right thing. There is no we have arrived moment. कुछ लोग बोलते हैं, मैंने बुक्स में पढ़ा है, but witness तो नहीं किया अभी तक. I still feel like we are the small guy on the block, you know. It might sound a little like, you know, I might sound a little stupid saying this, but most of what people know us for, or even this concept of, you know, money and these guys have made it big and all of that for us is virtual, you know, like it's
not hard cash.
It's not, I mean, it's not hard cash, and it's not like these multi-generational families that you hear about. Like, let's say we are passing somebody, one of the big names of India.
Correct,
like,
yes, you are.
Take Bajaj, Ambani,
I mean,
Adani.
through the ceiling, we will be passing their daughter's house.
Yeah, so we're like an iota of what they are in terms of wealth and stuff like that. We're just some people
Cheaty.
who have some cheaty, but on some valuation multiple based on growth. If we survive for the next 30 years, somebody attributes a valuation to you. Based on that, people assume we're rich, but it's not the same thing. You know what I mean?
No, as a educator who started doing, you know, some change making as a teenager, when you get the serotonin that normally people are getting after 50,
right,
it changes a lot of things.
Correct.
So that's where I come to your thing with, because you have a very Warren Buffett kind of approach to investing, which is about 25% of what you do is philanthropy. How and when did that start? And that is very fascinating here.
So we've always been doing a lot of I hate to use the word charity, but I feel like socialism does not work. History has taught us that. Capitalism has worked well in many cases. Socialism, communism has never worked. I think for capitalism to continue to work, we need the anomalies of capitalism, those few lucky buggers who kind of like got lucky in whatever domain that they were, to become more socialist in their approach for this entire system to continue to work. For that reason, I think us going out there and kind of like participating in the community and not just doing it as, you know, a whim or as a hobby, but taking it seriously and having a full-time team and trying to, we can never really solve a problem. Like, I hate to say this about NGOs and charities and CSR and all of that, the entire world put together, we probably contribute maybe 1% or 2% to what a country's government's budget for something like this could be. So the idea is not to try and fix the issue. The idea is try and inspire other people to kind of come along and participate, and then make a change.
That's a very good thing here. How was it meeting Bill Gates?
Good. He's in fact back in town. I'm seeing him again in a month.
In Mumbai?
In Bangalore.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
He keeps doing that a lot, no?
Comes to Bangalore?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Very discreetly.
See, he has that giving pledge, right?
Correct.
There are 4 signees in India. 3 of them happen to be in Bangalore. So,
can you hook him up with us for Mashable Mornings? We'd really like to get more young people to pledge with you also.
Will you come to Bangalore?
I'll come to Bangalore.
Let me check.
Yeah, we'll do the airport to the hotel drive as well.
Yeah, he's a little media shy, but I can check with him. Yeah.
I thought you were also media shy, no?
Little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like whenever a camera is around me, I feel conscious. I feel like I'm a lot... With you, it's a little different because you're kind of like very chilled out and cool and, you know, stuff like that. And I can talk to you like I talk to somebody I've known a long time. But
Thank you.
Generally, when a camera is on in a room, like I'm giving you an example of my own house. I'm recording a podcast with 3 of my friends who come home very often. I feel conscious even then.
Ah, damn. What is this podcast called? I've heard about it.
It's not even a podcast yet. It's basically we used to catch up and talk about interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Now we have decided to put a camera in while we do that.
Very nice. Perfect. Very well done.
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to
you should definitely come for
Yeah, I've self-invited myself. I'm going to gatecrash that shit.
The first one's about the metaverse, where we go in depth. We all got a Oculus each and spent 4 hours and ruined our necks and all of that.
Yeah.
The next one is going to be about electric mobility.
Fad, or is it going to stay?
Metaverse?
Yeah.
I think it's going to change the world.
Yeah.
100%. Just think of it like, we all talk about, there are many low-hanging fruit examples I could give you, but you would have to edit this podcast a bit more then. But for things like, when I travel, like I was saying, I carry 3-4 computers. If they get haptics on the keyboard experience in Lime, if I could carry one big pair of glasses,
Oh, that's all there.
incredible, right?
Oh, fuck.
Think of the climate change angle. Say a flight to fly from here to SF, A, costs so much money, B,
Yeah.
is so bad for all the emissions that you put out through it. If I can feel like I am meeting the person I am in SF is sitting in the room next to me, and I have haptics. Haptics are when you can start
I
to
know,
touch
when you
and-
feel and touch and
Correct.
you get that vibrating.
and I can shake your hand, and I
correct.
can see your micro expressions. We will get there one day, so this will happen. Right now, it's not there yet. Right now, the metaverse worlds are more like there are no feet, and
Yeah,
you have to take.
it's very gamified.
Yeah, but I think it's evolving very quickly. I feel like that guy Mark Zuckerberg, right?
Yeah.
Like, to his credit, people have gone totally against him for changing the name of the company and
Yeah,
spending whatever $16 billion a year or something on metaverse alone. But this guy has an incredible track record of taking moonshots and getting them right.
correct.
He did that with so many companies in the past, so I wouldn't write him off.
Yeah,
The question for me more is Microsoft versus Meta. Which stock to buy
yes,
to get?
they're faster.
Yeah.
That's true. So tell me this: how is the Zerodha office and like Gruhas or True Beacon? What are the vibes in each of those offices?
They're all very chilled out, but I work from home now. So
Oh, what are you saying?
yeah, I work
Fully?
from home, fully. Like Fridays, I go to Zerodha office.
Yeah.
Once in a while, I go to True Beacon office. Gruha's right now, the office is in Hyderabad, so I barely ever go. They're going to get an office in Bangalore.
Uh-huh.
But I work from my apartment in Bangalore more often than not.
Oh, nice.
Or if I have meetings that I cannot miss, I travel in person and I go meet them.
Sweet.
That is what this trip is about. So I
Yeah.
kind of like shove in as much as I can in a 48-hour window, do like 10, 20 meetings, and then I go back.
That's hectic, man.
It's hectic, but it's not the pattern. It's kind of like the off, like 2 days in a month or 4 days in a month.
Ah, okay. So, are you ready for the Gen Z kind of workforce that's coming in?
Yeah, I think people like us, like you or me or whatever, right? Like in many cases, people look to us for advice because they see us on whatever. Like they
Yeah.
hear some 2 or 3 random people who are not very smart saying good things about us, so they're like, "Inse puchte hain." I feel like what worked for us, the millennials, will not work for Gen Z.
100%.
We lived in a world which was growing very quickly. Interest rates in the world were near zero.
Yeah.
Really cheap money was funding growth stocks helter-skelter.
Correct.
None of which will be available to the Gen Z. So these
Yeah.
guys have to like re-look at the entire problem, because entrepreneurship was good for a certain era does not mean it will be good for the next era or the preceding era.
100%.
I think people have to build businesses a different way and not it shouldn't be an assumption in your business plan that you will get funding and the funding will be X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. But like this whole rise of co-working spaces or places where you can meet other people, other entrepreneurs, that doesn't excite you?
Co-working spaces as a business excite me.
Yeah.
I feel like real estate is the most inflated asset class in our country. Everybody who has a home, who owns a home or an office, should go and dump it today, because I feel like in a country where inflation is 7-8% and rental yields are 3% and cost of borrowing is 11%, if you're buying a home and you're losing a lot of money in a very mathematical, logical way of looking at things.
Correct.
I feel like we've not factored this in. From a relative standpoint, I'm most bullish about India, but from when I take a step back and think about all of this, I feel like this is the worst time ever to be stuck in assets which are not easy to sell when you really need the money, and real estate is on top of the pie for me.
100%.
So real estate is the worst for me. followed by private equity, because all entrepreneurs across the board have lost the plot. Today, everybody believes that whatever they're building, there are often people I meet, their companies' profitability, if that will be 50 lakhs a year, for some reason they believe the value of the company is $50 million a year. Yeah. And the problem is everybody's like that today. So I think real estate, worst investment to have right now, followed by private equity, followed by public equity, because I feel even I'd say forward multiples of 19,
20%, yeah.
20 times. Stock markets are not cheap, and more so relative to other geographies, we're quite expensive. Because maybe Korea has corrected, or Japan has corrected 40%. We've only fallen 8-9% from the top. So we have become expensive in this last cycle. So I would say real estate, stay away. Private equity, stay a little bit away.
You love gold more than you love real estate.
Yeah, I like gold, and I like commodities generally. I feel they do well. Gold, especially in an inflationary world. If you look at the history of inflation, I'm sorry, I'm taking this to some other place. This was
very technical conversation. This will be labeled as a technical chapter for serious investors only.
Yeah. So if you look at inflation historically, whenever you have a spike, you don't have one spike, right? Like you have maybe 3-4
bouts, yeah.
Yeah. So you'll have a drop, you'll have a spike, you'll have a drop, you'll have a spike. So it feels like we are at the very beginning of a long
this is the first
cycle.
Spike, yeah.
Yeah. And the only tool central banks across the world have to counter inflation is increasing interest rates.
That's it.
I don't know if you remember in America when Volcker was the Fed chair, they took interest rates to as high as 17-18%.
Yeah.
But the problem for us also as India is if America raises rates because they can't contain inflation, we have to raise rates. Otherwise, our rupee kind of depreciates against the dollar, which beyond a point is not good for us either.
Correct.
So I think this inflation problem is here to stay for a long time. And for that reason, I feel all of these asset classes I mentioned are expensive. But gold, strangely, I think somehow, historically at least, has proven to be a fair hedge of inflation. Like if you buy gold jewelry in a shop for 100 rupees, you pay the jeweler maybe 20 rupees and you're left with 80 bucks worth of gold. If you buy sovereign gold bonds from the government,
correct,
you're left with 102.5 at the end of the year versus 80 when you buy from the jewelry store.
Yeah.
And 2.5 more every year, so on and so forth.
So then you're just like in a much better place.
Yeah.
You met Mr. Narendra Modi recently. How was that?
He's one of the, I don't know how to say this without sounding like I'm embellishing too much.
Yeah.
But he was so kind, and he kind of sat with us for like maybe 40 minutes and spoke about so many things. But the one thing you take away from your interaction with him is how likable he is in person. Like, yeah, so you build up, whenever you don't really know someone or you haven't really met someone and you've only read about them or seen them on one platform or another, it's very easy to misconstrue or for society to form an opinion for you which you follow.
True.
But he has so much aura, so likable. And in a weird way, like I walked out of that meeting feeling like I'm a fanboy of sorts.
Yeah,
which is...
it's the aura also, I'm sure.
Yeah. And
the aura of a person really changes a lot of things.
And he knows everything about everything.
What are you saying?
Yeah. He knows everything about everything. Yeah, I think first thing, he's sitting with us on a Sunday at 9 p.m. and he's not bothered about how long it takes. And we're not the first meeting of the day. We're probably the 85th meeting.
Fuck my life.
And he's being so courteous, and he's kind of like being patient with us. All of which he doesn't have to do, right? Like who are we, and why does he's the prime minister of the country. Why does he have to make that effort? But the fact that he does, often when one critiques him, I don't think they realize if they were to be in that situation, how hard being that way would be.
Yeah. But as an entrepreneur, does it make you spiritual? Like you have like a certain grade of spirituality that you're looking. I see you having achieved or wanting or being.
I think everybody wants spirituality.
Yeah.
But how far I've gotten till now is I don't even know what it means. Because each person I ask has a different definition. Like everybody thinks spirituality A is a different thing.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like knowing that you're connected with everyone and everyone in turn is connected with everyone and the world is essentially one. And we are all doing meaningless actions which we kind of give more importance to in our own little bubbles. I think all of that comes together, that whole connection part comes together as spirituality, but not much beyond that. I've tried meditating. I last about 30 seconds before I start thinking about something else. So
Yeah.
that hasn't worked well for me.
Yeah. I asked this to the larger shark investors, but I'll ask you also because you are also an investor in people. So, बंदे पे पैसा लगाते हो कि धंधे पे पैसा लगाते हो?
Generally, bande pe, but I think there has to be a little dhanda as well.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You have to be analytical. Of course, you won't be just like, I love you, take my money.
Yeah, true.
But cool, yeah, good stuff. I don't think we spoke about your watch experience and life. Like you're a big fanatic of watches, connoisseur of watches. I would say that's a better word to use. What is your like most cherished collection, like a timepiece?
I like all these old watches, like 50 saal purane. I have 100-year-old Le Coultre, which was what the watch brand was called before JLC was formed.
Oh, okay.
There were two separate brands back
Oh,
in
I
India.
did not know that.
Yeah, so I like the fact that, when I look at some of these watches,
Yeah.
I remember that somebody wore them during World War One.
Correct.
Somebody wore them during World War Two.
Yeah.
They saw probably a German Luftwaffe aeroplane bomb them from up wearing that watch. So this watch has been on so many wrists and it has spent so much time witnessing so many things. It can't tell the story, but
You know that it has a story.
It has witnessed it. So that's kind of cool.
But how was it? Good fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on Mashable Mornings.
Thank
This
you.
was Sid signing off.